A 61-year-old man broke down sobbing on the witness stand during former police officer Derek Chauvin's trial. The man said, "Oh my God," that's after he watched the video of the day that Floyd was on the ground, calling out for his late mother, saying again and again he can't breathe.
I can't believe this. I can't believe this. I can't believe this, man.
Can we stop it right here, please?
Mama, look.
Mr. McMillan, do you need a minute?
I feel helpless. I don't have a mama either. I understand him.
That is Charles McMillan, who gave some of the most powerful testimony yet during day 3 of the murder trial. And he told the court that he encouraged George Floyd to listen to police as he was being arrested. And you can hear McMillan on the video repeatedly telling him, "You can't win." After the ambulance took George Floyd away, Chauvin tried to defend himself to Mr. McMillan. Now, Mike Galanos reports that's the first time you hear the ex-officer's voice and perspective. And I still need to warn you because it is painful, it is jarring to watch. Some of the police body camera video is still so disturbing.
And Robin, it was so difficult to watch this 61-year-old man break down in court to the point that they had to take a 10-minute break. But we also get to see Charles McMillan confront Derek Chauvin. And for the first time in this case, we get to hear the voice of Derek Chauvin. Why he dealt with George Floyd the way he did. What's his mindset? Let's listen to that.
That's one person's opinion.
But no, I gotta get him. I gotta get him.
We gotta control this guy because he's a sizable guy.
Yeah, and I tried to get in the car.
Looks like he's probably on something.
Speaking of George Floyd's size, we see how big he is in this surveillance video from the Cup Foods. George Floyd standing in the middle of the store with the black tank top on, and there was an employee who testified, Christopher Martin, who talked about how big George Floyd was, and he took notice of it.
Probably just his size. I could tell that he was big. I had asked him if he played baseball. He went on to respond to that, but it kind of took him a little long to get to what he was trying to say, so it would appear that he was high.
But Robin, the day ended with emotional body camera footage from all 4 officers. What we see are basically the moments of George Floyd's arrest to the moments towards the end of his life. And what may be the most damning thing against Derek Chauvin is Officer King, and we see it in the footage. He tries to find a pulse from George Floyd, but can't.
Check his pulse,
Yet Derek Chauvin keeps his knee on his neck for a few more minutes. How will the defense fight that? We shall see. More testimony coming up, day 4, right here on HLN at 10 a.m. Eastern. Robin, back to you.
Mike, thank you. You know, Rodney, George Floyd's brother Rodney, was in the courtroom when all those police videos were played. And at one point, he looked down, he shook his head, and he refused to watch. It has to be so hard for the family. You're seeing your loved one again and again from a different vantage point on the video. An attorney for George Floyd's family says that they are suffering watching this video during the trial.
We saw something today that we haven't seen before. And it really magnifies the situation that this happened over $20. It's really disheartening. It's actually sort of disgusting to think that this happened over a fake $20 bill, that a man lost his life. George suffered. He was tortured. There's no question about that. The Floyd family is going through a torture every single day. This is very hard for them now to see new footage, new angles, and they're hearing the visceral groans and grunts, the grueling aspect of George fighting for his life.
The 19-year-old cashier is suspected that Floyd had given him a counterfeit bill, says he feels so guilty for Floyd's death. Live to Minneapolis, our law enforcement analyst is Josh Campbell, who joins us now live. So you can see the pain of even just onlookers that day, including him and his role in all of this.
Yeah, exactly, Robin. That has been the theme that we've seen from so many of these witnesses, expressing this sense of regret, this remorse. It was an emotional day in court yesterday as you had some of these witnesses recounting, reliving their experiences there when George Floyd breathed his last breath here in Minneapolis, to include this cashier who was inside the store. And one thing that he had said was that this kicked off because Floyd was in the store allegedly passing a $20 counterfeit bill. Now, it was the policy of the store that if an employee accepted a counterfeit bill, that actually came out of their own pay. And so the employees, after discussing the situation, ended up calling the police. Of course, that leading to that encounter that resulted in the death of George Floyd. That 19-year-old cashier testified yesterday in court. Listen to what he said.
What was going through your mind during that time period?
Disbelief and guilt.
Okay. Why guilt?
If I would have just not taken the bill, this could have been avoided.
And that was the theme that we heard again from so many of those witnesses. They wish this would have ended differently. Robin.
Let's talk about the first member of the Minneapolis Police Department to be on the stand and what we learned from that testimony, Josh.
Yeah, we heard yesterday from a lieutenant with the police department. This was someone who manages the video system for the police department. And what jurors ended up actually seeing was new evidence that was entered, the body camera footage from the officers on that day. We also got a sense played for the public, hearing Derek Chauvin's voice for the first time, seemingly trying to justify his own actions. Here's that video.
That's one person's opinion.
But no, I gotta
control this guy because he's a sizable guy.
Yeah, and I tried
to
get in the car.
Looks like he's probably on something.
Now, again, that was the first time we've heard Chauvin's voice. It's still unclear whether or not he will be testifying in this trial in his own defense, whether he will be expressing any remorse of his own. The trial continues later this morning. There will be additional witnesses, and of course, we will be here covering it, and we'll bring you the very latest. Robin.
You know, it's hard not to contrast how distressed the onlookers were and the people who are testifying now, and how much pain and emotion that they are showing, and contrast that with Derek Chauvin's own voice, which we can't assume what he was thinking at the time, but it doesn't seem tinged by emotion or distress.
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of the things that we heard from one of the witnesses, a paramedic who was actually there, saying that he looked like he was comfortable, Derek Chauvin, as he was on George Floyd's body as he sat there or kneeled there on his neck for so long, that of course leading to the ultimate death of George Floyd. And as you mentioned, you look at that video of him just seemingly at ease and compare that with some of the witnesses, not only on scene, we've seen their distress on video, but also now in court reliving this experience. Quite traumatic for them. And again, just a juxtaposition there. You see different reflections, reactions. The cop appeared one way. Those who were there and who are now testifying obviously appear very distraught.
It is also distressing, at least for the jury members as well. That is starting to wear on them. How that is showing up in court. We have more on that angle still to come. Josh Campbell, our thanks to you. And do know that HLN will continue its gavel-to-gavel coverage of the trial beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern today.
I think the longer you survive in the music business, the more it says about you.
Glenn Frey was still at the top of his game.
He was part of the culture. Something had been taken away and was never coming back. Oh my God.
Glenn Frey, guitarist, co-founder, and co-writer for the Eagles, was just 67 years old, and he was, quite simply, a rock star.
The Eagles have been shattered to pieces.
This shouldn't have happened, because he was just playing.
Glenn was a ball of energy, a ball of ideas.
It was like an earthquake in the music world.
For people on the inside circle, it was clear that this was serious.
Most of us thought he had it under control. I just thought he'd be fine.
There were struggles.
Simply could not go forward.
It took a lot for him to die at this age.
All of a sudden, there's no more Glenn Frey.
I'm just happy to be here. I think that's the biggest accomplishment of all.
Very Scary People. Hosted by Donnie Wahlberg. New season starts Sunday, May 2nd at 9 on HLN.